Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Ozark Season 4, Episode 8. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously we're in the aftermath of the finale for part 1 of season 4. Now Ruth is reminiscing about, her and Wyatt getting high on top of the roof, talking about rap albums, well, not just rap albums, like music albums and stuff, but it's first they started talking about rap, and I love that is a constant throughout the episode, is her, playing Nas specifically. I think all of it from Illmatic. I'm not very good with, albums and what songs are on what, especially because I'm not well-versed in Nas's catalog like that. But because some of the songs they play through it, I'm like, I don't know them off the top of my head, but some of those I'm like, yeah, I know them, but it's like, I'm not, once again, I'm not I know some rap, but my rap catalog in my head just isn't as nearly as good as other people's are. Mine's probably very below average at this, especially now. But regardless, I thought that was kind of a neat theme throughout the entire episode, just blasting Nas the entire time, which I thought was pretty dope. Jumping ahead a little bit, I kind of got it spoiled on me just because I'm getting to the season so late, just because I've been I just have not managed my time properly to get around to this, because I've been sidetracked by so much other stuff, catching up with things and just being distracted. So I did kind of get spoiled about the Killer Mike scene, because I think it's on the Netflix's YouTube channel. It's sometime after the season came out. I want to say that might have been before the back half of the season came out. It might even been out, but whatever the case may be, I already knew about the Killer Mike scene. It's still pretty dope though, and I think it's so interesting that her discussion with Killer Mike is relevant to her conversation, because I even love Killer Mike saying he's someone that was in Queens and he can see Manhattan, referencing Nas, he can see Manhattan, and it's just almost the beauty and yet the cruel nature of how fucked up that is, And she says, if you think he could take that record back so he wouldn't have to go through all that shit, would he? And Killer Mike says, but if you have to ask the question, it's kind of if you even have to ask that question in the first place, I think it is kind of you kind of already got your answer. And she was even the coffee, I can't sleep. And he's like, why not? And she's like, and he's kind of yeah, almost yeah, I feel you. I thought that was such a dope scene, because it's not just it's a massive it's a massive cameo, but also it plays and they make it relevant to her story, because she's a rap fan, and also talking to him, I think, gave her a certain perspective on things, because she's out looking for revenge, and obviously it's a conversation where Marty calls her up. No, he's talking to Javi earlier in the episode. Javi's like, yeah, I got something. I need you to clean it up and then head to Chicago. That's the thing. Javi thinks he's hot shit. The reason why your uncle didn't want to pass anything on to you besides you trying to kill him, and you would kill him. But it's also because you're an impatient. The naivety of youth thinking you've got it all figured out. It's that was stupid of you to call such a scene, but you're the birds will clean it up. It's it ended up getting called into the police. It's because even then I didn't think about it at the time. I was just oh man, the cops just happened to show up. It's yeah, what reason would they have to go see Darlene, and discover her body? So it turns out Ruth's the one that called it in, because she's saying right, if I was going to call that in, would I really be doing something stupid? But even the sheriff, even she knew, because she must have recognized Ruth's voice, so she was asking Marty, where is Ruth? But now it's a situation of Wendy's yeah, you should have told him about Ruth, and Marty doesn't want to do it. He's if we do that, there's no guarantee she'll do anything, because I didn't even think about it. It's Marty brings up some good points. She doesn't even know where he is, plus she doesn't even know what he looks like. It's right, she's never actually met Javi. So that's what he's thinking, but Wendy's with the strength of will, you underestimate how far she'll go, how far people will go when they have enough will and determination behind. It's I feel bad for her, but we should kind of throw her to the wolves, which Marty's no, because she's part of the family. Him and Ruth have been in this together since the beginning, and so Wendy's quick to throw her under the bus. Don't get it twisted though, Marty's helped throw her under the bus too, especially the whole Frank Jr. situation. He didn't help stick up for her in that situation, and he's trying to I think, because he realizes, yeah, it's our fault things have gotten this far. Her cousin we basically upended her entire life. Both of her uncles are dead. Her dad's dead. Now her cousin's dead. We are dwindling down the only family she has left. So it's and he has such guilt over that. But Wendy kind of doesn't, because in her mind it's like, right, this is about protecting our family. Even Marty's questioning, like, are you really pissed? What this is really about is your foundation, isn't it? And she's almost like, don't get it twisted. Like, I care about Ruth too, and it's just that it doesn't feel like it though. That's what's kind of rubbing Marty the wrong way, because that's always the thing. It almost seems like sometimes the show will make it seem like Wendy is the heartless person and Marty's the one that has his heart on his sleeve. But because it seems like a lot of times Wendy will, once again, I always talk about the thing Laura Linney does when she's kind of lying through her teeth or she kind of puts on like a little bit of that southern charm where she'll smile and like, what? Almost like a goodness gracious, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, oh, almost like that whole bless your heart. Like, she's kind of got that southern hospitality, where it's kind of like, oh, you talk like really nice, but you're really kind of shit talking someone behind their back. She's kind of got that about her, and so she's very good at kind of lying, which really goes into in this episode as well. But she's proven herself time and time again. Marty seems a little more, he kind of buries things, but he's also very kind of upfront about how he feels, even though, because he even calls her, I was like, yeah, you're emotional. She's like, really? She's like, what the fuck did you just say? He's like, I'm sorry, but he's like, I'm being pragmatic about this, which she's like, no, you're not. You should warn Javi about Ruth, because if Ruth kills him, this whole thing's going to implode. This is about protecting our family. Because when the argument went down, Jonah obviously sides with like, no, we need to protect Ruth. Charlotte doesn't say anything in the scene, but you kind of know she leans more towards, it's like, right, she's probably playing neutral, but truth be told, she sides more with Jonah. I mean, especially because she gives Ruth information like, right, when she shows up later, she's like, okay, give me anything, please, I'm begging you. If you ever cared about Wyatt, which Charlotte did, and it's like, right, he didn't deserve that. So, especially as they kind of rekindled, like, obviously, she was kind of asking him a favor, but that is kind of, I want to say that's their first scene in a while together, like that, back in the first half of season 4. I want to say that was the first, I don't think I commented on it at the time, but it's like, they haven't had any scenes together in a long time. I'm trying to think, like, the last time they talked maybe on the phone was like, right, your dad had nothing to do with killing my dad or something like that, because it was Ruth that did it. I want to say that might have been the last interaction Charlotte and Wyatt had on screen together. Another thing that was back in season 2. I want to say that's the case, but I could be wrong. I don't think there was anything in season 3, but like I said, it could be wrong. So it makes it even sadder that, like, yeah, they came back into each other's life and they were kind of good, and she had asked him for a favor, so for things to kind of end this way. So Charlotte does, because it's like, yeah, Ruth doesn't have much family left, and it's kind of effed up that our family won't protect you, even though you've kind of done so much for us. So, and I love later on when she runs into Wendy, because Wendy's at the place. It's like, right, we'll help you kill Javi. Just give it, yeah, we don't know when he's going to be back. She's like, oh, how long? And she's like, oh, 3 months. I'm like, and I love it because you're like, oh, Wendy, you picked the worst time because she knows you're lying because Charlotte already gave her the info. And the moment Wendy leaves, she's like, you lying fucking bitch. And I'm like, yeah, that's that. Because even I was thinking, like, why 3 months? Like, what were you going to do at the end of that 3 months? Did you think, like, the way Marty puts it later on that Wendy was going to, like, Wendy's suggestion was kind of like, oh, she's going to calm down. It's like, you wouldn't calm down if one of your family, well, I was about to say one of your family members died. It's like, well, Wendy kind of gave the go ahead about her brother, so that's not the easiest equate. Like, you can't equate those two. It's like, because like Wyatt was pretty much like her brother, and so it's like, right, you gave the go ahead to kill your brother, the man that she loved, and then on top of that, now it's like her cousin's dead, who's like a brother to her. It's just interesting. She makes her way to Chicago, and the birds are eventually making their way there, but Marty's calling her up, and she's like, really? Like, are you calling for yourself, or because you're worried about me, or because of the foundation? He's like, I'm calling because I actually am worried about you. Because I do love that, and I think, because Ruth's in this complicated spot, because she gets this feeling like, okay, like, I think she likes the fact is that Marty takes care of her and like does care for her, at least pretends to, it from her perspective. But it's like, yeah, you've always been there for me. You've taken me under your wing. You've taught me so much. You've helped me in some regards, kind of screwed me over in others. But despite their beef, like, I think she's okay with Charlotte. She's definitely cool with Jonah, she's a lot cooler with Marty than she is Wendy. Wendy's the member of the family that's on her shit list. Like, it's like, yeah. Like I said, she's kind of flip-flops with Marty, but it's like, she always flip-flops so much because she does like Marty and care for him, because he was like, kind of like a better dad to her than her own father was, so she tells him, like, hey, you don't have to worry about me, I'm fine. And it's just like, because I think she needed to hear that from him, to hear that he was concerned about her, but it doesn't change the fact is of, like, right, you're still protecting the son of a bitch that, like, killed my cousin, so we're never going to fully be good because of that. Like, you've made some choices in the past I don't appreciate, I don't like. And so they're in Chicago, eventually show up in Chicago, and it's kind of what I thought in the trailer where she just rolls up and shoots Javi in broad daylight. I was like, okay, that must be like a dream sequence. It's not a dream, but it was her visualizing. I figured she wasn't going to just roll up on Javi and pop him like that, so. But the Birds are meeting with him and Claire, and he wants stock options. Like, oh, we'll pass it to my mom. Which, if I'm not mistaken, the actress who plays his mom is from Queen of the South, right? I was also like, I didn't notice because I've never seen it. I heard nothing but good things about it, but it was short-lived. I want to say the actor who plays Javi's the main... Maybe I said this during part 1 of this season, but I want to say that actor's in the Fox series The Exorcist. I think it only got 2 seasons, but I want to say he was the lead of that. Because I kept being like, oh, he looks familiar, and I think that's what I recognized him from, because I think I came across him on Google or something. Regardless. So Claire's not too keen about giving him stock options because of that, right, your family connections and stuff. And then he also takes his his uncle's financials. It's like, yeah, sign this over to me, which Marty's like, that money and stuff is supposed to go to his church. It's like, no, they're family. I'll make sure they're taken care of. Because he knows what his uncle did, and he just wants... Javi's so about getting a one-up. He wants to feel victorious because I think he was so belittled by his own family, like he wasn't good enough in other facets, because he talked about going to business school, and there's a guy that didn't treat him with the same respect he did every other student. He looked down upon Javi, and now it's like, oh, that guy, after hearing about our family's tile business, the more legitimized version of their business, he's like, yeah, that guy wants a donation to the school. And what does Javi do? He plays it cool and stuff like that. Waits till the guy goes to the bathroom and beats the ever living shit out of him, like gives him a swirly in a urinal, and then my people will write out a check, because he wants to flex. He wants to feel powerful. He thinks he's got the keys to the kingdom, which his mom was like, oh, that's really quickly what I was going to talk about. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that actress from, one of the things she's from, it might be the same actress, maybe it's not. I was like, isn't that the same actress from Queen of the South? I could be mistaken. But his mom was like, be careful, don't get caught up because of a woman and stuff, which... It's ironic that Ruth ends up killing him at the end of the episode, which I'll go ahead and tell you, I wasn't expecting Ruth to pop him simply because, well, she froze up the first time, but also I thought there was a scene in a trailer where I was like, oh, is that Javi? Which now I'm like, oh, that must not be Javi. Not unless that was something with a flashback, because there was someone that looked like Javi, and I thought like he was going to be in Mexico because they found out you're selling us out to the FBI, and he gets the business. Like they beat him up and torture him, but it's like, no, that's not Javi. Not unless it ends up being Navarro, and I don't know, because whoever it was seemed like they had longer hair than Navarro, so that's why I was almost, Javi's hair, like, I just thought like Javi's hair had grown out or something, and that's what I was thinking, but it's like, no. I just thought that was fascinating. I was like, oh, when she actually popped him this time. Because she was following them around all day, and I thought it was heartbreaking when she's calling up Wyatt's phone, leaving voicemails, because she's like, right, they're buying fucking office space, they're buying this house, like, they're buying all this stuff, meeting with very important people, and it's like, this is our lives, they stole that from us, and now they're living it, it's not fair. Even to the point she visualized rolling up on Wendy and Marty and shot both of them. Note that she did start with Wendy first. I think that matters. It's like, yeah, she's the closest one to you, but I think it's also because you hate her the most. She does pop on Marty regardless, but once again, she hates Wendy more. But maybe argument's sake is she probably might actually hate Marty more, because it's like, you make me feel like you make me care about you. Wendy, I can straight up hate, but because you make me love you and care about you, I hate you more, you know? Especially because Marty spends so much time trying to persuade her not to do this. That it's like, you don't have to be this, you don't have to do this. Hell, even 3 calls her up. It's like, wait, you know who killed Wyatt. Just come back home, please. And for her, it's like, I need to do this, because she can't just let Javi get away with it. He's done, you know? I even thought it was interesting that she went to Frank Jr. for a gun, and Frank is like, yo, just squeeze it like you're taking in a breath, and yeah, when you get back, make sure you throw away the gun, but also when you get back, I have a drink waiting for you, which I'm like, I think that's such an interesting thing, like, shift in their relationship, obviously, since season 3. I brought it up during the first part of the season, being like, oh, it's kind of interesting how their dynamic has shifted, and I was almost like, is there going to be something between them? But I don't think so, but you never know. With everything going down, I highly doubt that will happen, but I was almost wondering whether, at least they're friendly. I think before because they had issues before, like, he beat her up, that's because she pushed him off the boat and everything, so. Which, like I said, they've kind of buried the hatchet on that, despite everything. But like I said, she just kept contemplating it over and over again and what to do. And she finally comes to Claire, Marty, and Wendy during a dinner with, together. And she sits down and is like, right, call Javi or I will put a bullet in this woman's head right now in front of everybody. So to go to the office. And she puts them both on blast. It's like calling Wendy this predator that doesn't even know why she kills anymore. And Marty, he pretends to care, but he actually has no emotions. Or basically saying, I guess, that it's like he's so pussy whipped that he doesn't even know who he is anymore. And you can tell Marty looks down because he even says a line of like, I'm sorry we let you down. And then you had Wendy kind of turn to him like, don't apologize to her. Because Wendy had given him that look earlier when it's like, oh, I told you, you said that you would go home. And she's like, no, you told me to go home. Big difference. And Wendy had given him a look like, oh, you knew she was in Chicago and you didn't say anything. Because he knew exactly what Wendy would do. She'd run and tell Javi. So now they're in this situation. And she's making it clear to Claire, is like, do you know who you're in business with? These people will kill anyone if it's for the sake of doing what they want to. Their problem is they'll make you think that they care about you. And they're like, oh, you might get screwed over. But they're like, no, it won't happen again. And it's like, you can't trust them. They're only looking out for themselves. And even asking Marty is like, do you really believe what you do is you actually protecting your family? And Marty doesn't have much of a rebuttal because it's like, right, after everything that's going down, how can I say that anymore? I think at one point in time he legitimately did, but it's like, right, things just kept spiraling and things got so way out of hand that, Someone had pointed out before, like, I kind of put a lot of stuff on Wendy, but I can't forget Marty is responsible for some of the decisions they did make together. Yeah, Wendy went out of pocket and made some choices on her own, but there have been occasions where they don't always see eye to eye, but they have, like, decided on stuff together. So I thought that was interesting. So when Javi showed up, like I said, I wasn't sure what to expect, and he's like, oh, and he says something, pop, pop, pop. I was like, was that in her head? Did they fake this? Nope, he's sure dead. I was like I said, I was under the impression like, oh, he's like, that was him in Mexico kind of locked up where Marty was last season. I thought that's where he was, and that was, that might have been someone else, but I thought it was Javi. So now you're like, wow. And I love that she stares at Wendy and Marty for like a good 30 seconds because she was still contemplating whether or not she was going to kill them too, because she had fantasized about that as well, but she ultimately walks away. It's just like, right, like, regardless of anything, I'm not going to leave your children orphans, because despite my beef with you, they don't deserve to have their parents killed. I know what it's like to have your family killed. I mean, we got a little insight at a younger Ruth and Wyatt, because it's like her mom left. We never really got an answer about her mom's circumstances. Maybe it was earlier in the seasons, but she had visited a family friend, I want to say, sometime last season. I mean, during the first part of this season. And I don't think they ever really touched on her mom much. I don't know whether her mom's alive and still out there somewhere or whether her mom's dead. But her mom just got tired of everything and she left, and she never took Ruth with her. She just kind of left, or maybe she did try to at one point in time, but Ruth didn't want to leave 3 and Wyatt behind, or I don't know. because she's always had that trouble of leaving them because they are so important to her. But it might also just stem from it might just legitimately be like her mom left and just never cared enough to come back to her because she was just like, right, you were always daddy's girl, or maybe it's just a thing of I didn't want you around to remind me of the life I ended up leaving behind. Or once again, maybe she's just dead. But yeah. I thought it was interesting, too, that she popped Javi without conversation, because she probably knew if she tried to talk to him and let him know what's what, like, oh, I'm killing you because you killed my cousin. It's like, no, he got blindsided and popped. It kind of reminds me of The Walking Dead recently. Spoilers. Leah's death. I commented on in that review where I was like, oh, I think it's interesting that Daryl killed her. It wasn't a whole conversation of like, that standoff thing, and that's, you would almost think that's happened here, but it's like Rufus like, nope, I visualized doing it, and I could have done it earlier in the episode, but I didn't. I froze. This time I'm not going to hesitate. Pop, pop, pop. So Javi didn't even see who it was. Now they're probably going to have to answer questions when eventually people come looking. So what happened to Javi? The last person who sees Javi is that professor of his from business school. Was it Barton? So he's like the last person to see him alive. And there might be some phone records or something to prove like, hey, Wendy's the last person to call him. So you probably want to go like, hey, let's delete that call from his phone if we can. And make it seem like, oh, we haven't seen him since. Which Claire's now questioning, like, right, was all the stuff Ruth said real? And it's like, they don't say anything because they're too busy trying to clean up the scene. But, yeah, Ruth called them out for their BS. So she ultimately sits in the car and she sobs because killing Javi doesn't bring Wyatt back. It's just, she was probably hoping that it would give something to her, fill that hole. But it's like, yeah, once you got your revenge, you kind of are left with nothing. So she ultimately just leaves. So now the question is, what are the birds going to do? Because the FBI is not going to be happy about this. The Navarro cartel is super not going to be happy about this. So the question is, like, well, what do you do? Based on the trailer, I know they go visit Navarro. So in the aftermath of this, what's going to happen on that front? Once again, the cartel is going to be asking questions, especially Javi's mom being like, yo, where's my baby boy? What happened? And them being the last ones to see him. There's going to be questions on that front. Once again, the clear thing of, yeah, I don't know if I don't know, like the whole business thing, hearing the shady stuff that you birds are in, that, you're kind of liars. Now knowing that Wendy's a liar and stuff like that. So is Marty, but still. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.